What's up guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video we are going to be doing our 2024 conclusion. And I'm basically going to do like fake awards, basically like stuff people do like car of the year and all that. But I'm going to add a couple additional rewards. Some of these may not be the most valid since I didn't drive any of these cars, but I am kind of going off of what most people reviewed them as, so yeah. With that said, let's get on with the video. I hope you enjoy. Starting off with this year's conclusion, we're going to start off with a list of the top 10 cars that I saw this year. Number 1 will be my personal favorite that I saw. Starting off at number 10, we got ourselves the Ferrari 400i. This car may be the more forgettable Ferrari, but that's honestly why I put it on this list. It's unique and it's just different. You don't see it every day. And it's got everything that a vintage Ferrari should have, like a V12 that sounds really good, and an interior that smells really good. And it was just unique seeing it there because you don't see it every day. And while the looks are kind of basic and all that, I personally liked it. Next up, we got a pearl white Italian spec SF90. This was really cool to see just because it was just so beautiful to look at. I love the SF90 as is. It's probably one of my favorite Ferraris for the modern era. But it was just so cool to see, like, it had a different color other than red and the black, you know. It had an Italian stripe down the middle, as you could see in these photos, which do not do the car justice. And I mean, I loved how it looked. It was just a beautiful car, and yeah, maybe not the only it's definitely not the only SF90 I've seen this year, but it's definitely one of them. For the number 8 spot, we got ourselves a Lamborghini Diablo VT Roadster. Yes, this is the one that I did sit in my short, which you should go check out those shorts. And this car was just so cool. Like, I mean, it sounded really good, and it obviously looks like a really good car. And to me, the design is just timeless. And when I sat in the car, it was not really uncomfortable. I'm not that tall, so could probably explain why. But the wheel stuck out so far that that's the only part that made it getting. The wheels stuck out pretty far though, so that's kind of the only thing that made the car an issue to get in and out of, just because I had to swing my knee around it. But other than that, it was pretty comfortable. And when the car actually started up and revved and all that and idled, the body in the back shook where the engine was mounted. Like, the body itself shook. Like, I love that because it just gives the car a character. It's a wild beast waiting to go unleashed. A bull, if you will, an untamed bull. Anyway. Next up, at number 7, we got the Saleen S7, and when I was putting the list together, I did not do that on purpose, so that's just ironic. But anyway, when I was at a restaurant called Garage Grill, which I'll bring up later in this video, we actually got to sit under a Saleen S7, and it was a twin turbo too, so everything about it was just cool. Like, well, there's not a lot to say about it because I didn't start up, I didn't hear it, I didn't get to see its interior, but I still got to see a Saleen S7 twin turbo. And those are the rare ones than the normal ones, so that's just the number 7 spot, and let's go on to the number 5 spot, which is the Jaguar C-Type replica, which I know I pronounce Jaguar funny, but I do that just because I hear everybody pronounce it like that. Anyway, this car was just so cool to look at. Even though it was a replica, it was still so cool to look at just because it's the Le Mans car that won whatever year it did. I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, it was such a cool car. Roofless, it was a speedster, and it was essentially it kind of was like it was just cool. I don't know what to say for it other than it was just cool. We have now reached the top 5, and for the number 5 spot, I said the 1921 Duesenberg Model A Castle. What made this car so special and cool is that it was the first ever Duesenberg ever produced. And there's like a lot of history to the car. I love how they restored it, and it's basically all original. And it's a cool car to see in person, too. And really, it was just such a cool car. It's at the Auburn Duesenberg Museum if you guys want to check it out in Auburn, Indiana. So, yeah, definitely would recommend going to the museum, by the way, but that's besides the point. It actually looks really good. Like, for a 1920s car, I think it's one of my favorite 1920s cars ever. For the number 4 spot, we got I forget what year, but a Ferrari 365 GT 2+2 with a sunroof. These cars are very rare, but are basically just a traditional 365 2+2 fastback. Man, the interior on that car looks so beautiful, and the car itself looks not too bad. I'm not a huge fan of the front end, but every other part of the car looks pretty good. And I mean, yeah, it was really cool, and had a naturally aspirated V12. Nothing else to say other than it was a very rare concept car, or I wouldn't say concept, but it was like a very rare car. Like, so few of those were produced, and I forgot the amount that were produced exactly, but nonetheless, it was still a pretty cool car to see, and it actually got auctioned off this year at the Auburn auction, along with like the SF90 and the C-Type replica that I saw. Top 3, and for the number 3 spot, I put the Ferrari 330 America. This car is truly special, as only I think 330 of them were ever produced. I could be wrong. But anyway, it's just basically like a 250 GTE, just a bit different. I forgot the differences, by the way, but it's such a beautiful looking car is all you really need to know. And it's really forgotten, actually. Like, everybody knows the 250 and all that, but they forget about the 330 America. Much like a 250, though, it had everything that had a beautiful sound, a beautiful interior, and a beautiful exterior. It was just a flawless looking car, and I definitely loved seeing it, and it sounded really good, too. Number 2, we got the Porsche Carrera GT, specifically Graham Rahal's version. And this car was my first ever time seeing a CGT, and boy, did that not disappoint. It looks good, it looks timeless, and everything about it was just so cool. Its presence, and the fact that it was owned by Graham Rahal was pretty cool too. And I mean, while it is a pretty good car, and definitely one of my top 10 dream cars of all time, there's just one car on this list that I think I liked a hair bit better just because it just had a bit more presence to it. And that is the Camaro Evo 37. And this one was also owned by Graham Rahal, IndyCar driver, by the way, for those that don't know. And this car was just so beautiful to look at. The color, everything, every detail. It's definitely my favorite resto mod of all time, of anything. So, I just loved it. That was the car I saw the most when I went to that car show with the CGT there and everything. And while I probably do like the CGT better, man, do I love the Camaro Evo 37. It looks beautiful. I'm sure it sounds pretty good too, even though I didn't get to hear it start up, sadly. And it had the best presence at that car show, and it was definitely such a good car, especially when I look back at it going like, wow, I saw that car, and I remember how beautiful and detailed it was. Like, the people over at Camaro did a really good job with this car, and I thank them for giving us this artwork. Next up, we got the race of the year, and there was a few good ones, but the top 3 that I picked will be stated as follows. Number 3, I put the Miami GP from F1. This race was just a bunch of fun to watch because for once Verstappen didn't win it. And it was also because Lando Norris won his first ever career race. And boy, was I excited when I saw that he was going to do it. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to win it. And I mean, yeah, it was a fun race. Maybe a bit boring in the middle, but other than that, it was a really good race to watch. Number 2, I got the Monaco GP from F1 again. And this race was basically just the Miami GP race, but better. Like, I felt like while the middle half was still a little bit forgettable and boring, the rest of it was just, it was so cool. It was Leclerc's first win at Monaco, and it was his first home race win, just like Lando Norris getting his first race career win. And, I mean, yeah, and it was also on the same day of Motorsports Christmas. And the reason why it's not number one is just kind of the same issues as the Miami GP, because it was a bit boring to watch in the middle half, because Monaco is the slower race along with Miami. But I love Monaco, I love its history, and I love the race this year because Charles Leclerc won it, and as a Ferrari fan, it was a great day. But the race of the year goes to the 108th Indy 500, and man, despite that being an oval race, it was truly a blast to watch. Like, the crashes were a lot more common, maybe a bit too common, but it was still fun to watch nonetheless. And that final lap between Joseph Newgarden and Pato O'Ward, I believe his name is. I hope I got that right. If not, I'll put it up on screen. But, I mean, yeah, I was rooting for Joseph Newgarden because I'm going to be honest, I'm a Team Penske fan. And I know you're like, oh, bro, no, he's a Team Penske fan. Why? Well, because they were the only ones that reminded me of Ferrari the most. But that's besides the point. I love that final lap. I was so excited. I wanted Joseph Newgarden to win, and he won again. Same as last year and all that, but a lot more exciting to watch. And that's why the 108th Indy 500 is the race of the year for me. Now, time for the cars of the year. And there's going to be 4 of them because I couldn't think of a lot. And how it's going to work is that it has to be designated to 2024. So, for example, the 2024 Mustang Dark Horse, which I put at number 4 on this as a number 4 runner-up. And before I explain it, that's basically just how the rule system of how I'm going to count 2024 stuff will work, or even 2025 stuff. Anyway, the reason why I put the Dark Horse at number 4 is that it's really cool. It's got a unique presence to it, and it sounds good. The 5.0 V8s have always sounded good, and it handles pretty okay from what I hear, but not the greatest, so yeah, but it's a cool car. I absolutely love it, but not as much as the number 3 spot, which is the Porsche 911 ST, which basically it's just a GT3 without the wing on it. And it's really cool. Maybe a bit overpriced, at least from what I hear, though. But it's really cool. And I'm sure it handles great, even though I've never driven one. I'm sure it handles great, as most Porsches do. While the Porsche 911 ST is really good as a number 3 runner-up, I feel like, because there's just a couple other cars that I think are a bit better than it. Our runner-up is the McLaren 570S. And it's a great car, but it is kind of just basically a slightly upgraded exterior of a 720S. But I'm sure it's a great car to drive and all that. Sure, it's better than the 720. And it's really cool. I love the colors that you can get on these things, and they're just, overall, it's just a cool car, but not as good as the number 1 spot, which the Car of the Year award goes to the Lamborghini Revuelto. And I mean, what is there to not like about this car? I think it looks good, it sounds good, it can go up to 9,500 RPM, which is pretty insane. 1,000 horsepower with the hybrid system at that. But anyway, it's like, it's just an insane car, and it truly continues the lineage of Lamborghini's V12 cars so amazingly well, in my opinion. And I love everything about it. It's so cool. And that's why I think it gets the Car of the Year award. Oh boy, time for the worst cars of the year. And our runner-up for number 4 is, as much as I love the Dark Horse, but the normal GT Mustang of this year gets a little runner-up. It's not the worst car, that's why it's only a runner-up, kind of more so of an honorable mention. But it's so overpriced, and it's kind of just a downgrade from the previous generation of Mustang GT. but it's definitely not as bad as the top 3 that I'm going to mention now. And at the number 3 spot, we got the Dodge Charger Daytona EV. Don't get me wrong, I actually like the look of the car, and it's got a refined interior and everything, renewed, I should say. But it looks good, and it's got a good interior. That's kind of where it ends, because it just becomes a bigger boat than the previous generation Charger, and it's an EV. And it's really just unfortunate that it doesn't have a V8, which I get it. Dodge said they're no longer going to make the Hemi and all that, which is kind of stupid. But anyway, it's like, don't get me wrong, the Hurricane Inline 6 making a good amount of power is cool. It's just not going to be the same. I'm not super mad at this car. That's why it's only number 3 runner-up in all this. But I'm just so disappointed in many other categories too. And for our runner-up, we got the Tesla Cybertruck. And don't get me wrong, I guess it's kind of cool, but there's so many bad issues with it. It's honestly so stupid and so flawed and just so terrible. But I mean, it's like, it's just so terrible and so stupid that comes around being cool and kind of fun just because of its stupidity. Like, it's honestly just so cool, kind of cool to see a black wrapped Tesla Cybertruck, because I think of the Monolith from 2001 Space Odyssey. And I mean, it's a bad car, don't get me wrong, or truck, but it's so stupid that it turns around and kind of is just charming, to say the least. But for our worst car of 2024, drumroll please, the new Mercedes-Benz C63. This car may not be quite as flawed as a Tesla Cybertruck, but boy does it disappoint more than a Tesla Cybertruck. For one, it's got a new engine, a 4-cylinder, which is not good, and it wouldn't be so bad, but the 4-cylinder is not good at all. Like, we did not ask for a 4-cylinder, we asked for a new V8. It's just truly a tragedy, because this car looks good, it has a really nice interior, the iPad screen in the center I'm a bit mixed, because the Throttle House video shows it being very delayed, but the Doug DeMuro video shows it being just fine, so I'm kind of mixed with it, but, like, it has some positives, but it's heavier, it doesn't sound as good, and it tries rather than just does, as I like to say. Like, it tries so hard to be good that it just fails. It more so is a big disappointment, and it truly is just a shame that it no longer has a V8. And the chassis from right here is not that good either, so... But it's like, I haven't driven one or ridden in one, but if I am to ever do that, I'm sure people that say about it being trash are probably right. But it's truly such a disappointment of a car, and I hope Mercedes for the next C63 can somehow bring back the V8, even though it's highly unlikely. It's a massive gap between the Revuelto, isn't it? Switching to something that's a little bit more positive, I got my most anticipated cars for 2025. And at the number 6 spot, I've got the Aston Martin Vantage. And I love the looks of this car, I really do, and I'm sure it's fun, and I'm sure it will be great, but you don't know yet, and to be honest, it's just a Vantage at the end of the day. But I'm sure it'll still be a good car nonetheless, and I definitely look forward to it. That's why it's on this list. Number 5, we got the Ferrari 12 Citroen. I hope I didn't butcher that pronouncing, even though I'm sure I definitely did. But it's a really cool car, and I love its ideas on paper, and I'm sure it'll be great in performance and everything. My only issue is that I think the looks are a bit of a downgrade, but that's my only gripe. But even then, the car still looks good. It reminds me of the 365 Daytona GTB4. I think that's what it is. Might correct myself, which I know I've done a lot, but that doesn't matter anyway. At number 4, I got the Aston Martin Vanquish, and it really does look like a good car, and it's definitely a way to bring back the Aston Martin Vanquish. And I definitely look forward to hearing more reviews about it, even though Throttle House kind of already did some review on it. Anyway, at number 3, I got the Mustang GTD. This car is just nuts. Like, we already know it's Nürburgring time. It's currently the fastest around the Nürburgring from an American car. Although, we'll wait until number 1 spot takes it away, but that's besides the point. Because it's like, I love the car. 800 horsepower from a 5.2 liter V8 engine. That's from the Shelby engine. It's just insane. It's just an insane car overall, and I definitely look forward to hearing reviews about it. I hope it doesn't disappoint. I hope it is really good from a review standpoint from most YouTubers. Anyway, runner up is the Ferrari F80, and it pains me to put it there because it's the ultimate Ferrari as of right now, technically. But I'm just disappointed by the fact that they didn't use a V12 or couldn't figure out something to put a V12 and make it light. Like, I get the reasoning, and I think it's a cool reasoning. You know, it's based off the Le Mans car engine that won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So, I mean, it's a good reason to make it a V6. It's still disappointing, though, because I definitely like the V12 better. And to be honest, I just don't think it looks as good as like a Ferrari LaFerrari or a F40 or those cars, you know. I just think it kind of looks it's the weakest looking in my opinion. But it's still something I look very much forward to seeing on the internet getting reviewed, and I mean, I hope in real life too. But it's a great car, but not as good as the car of the year, which, drumroll please. The car of the year goes to the C8 Corvette ZR1. This car is just basically the GTD, but probably going to be more insane. And, I mean, we already know it goes 233 miles per hour, and it's a supercar. Like, it could possibly be the fastest supercar in existence. Maybe not car of all time, and it's definitely not a hypercar, but the fastest supercar of all time. And the fact that it could possibly even beat the Mustang GTD's time because it's got basically every advantage over it, most likely, is just insane. And I definitely look forward to hearing what it sounds like more, and just overall how it performs is what I look forward to the most. And it's an insane car, and that's why I think it's a bit better than the F80, just because I think it looks so angry and aggressive, and just overall really cool looking car, and it will definitely set its mark in the Super World car. Or I just messed up there. The world of supercars. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely the most anticipated car of 2025 for me. This makes me sad that I have to say this, but a moment of silence will go to these following cars: the Audi R8, the Chevy Camaro, Bugatti Chiron, Ferrari 812, Ferrari F8, Jaguar F-Type, Lamborghini Huracan, and the Nissan GTR. Moment of silence for those cars, as they were truly amazing cars that had an impact on our car childhoods, probably, or just even then just had an impact on the supercar world, or just even in the car world as a whole. But you never know. Hopefully they'll come back, but I highly doubt. But a moment of silence now. Okay. On a bit more positive note, though, I will tell you my personal favorite car story of the year, which that award goes to, because I couldn't find runner-ups, the award goes to the 8.1 swap in a C8 Corvette. This is just crazy because nobody's ever done it. And this 8.1 engine is like from a Vortec engine from like Chevys in the 90s or something like that. Like a 2500 or Vans, whatever it is that they put the 8.1 in. That's what it is from. And this 8.1 will also have like direct injection and variable valve timing. Like recently, it actually got off the lift, and they actually took it around for a test drive recently. I forget the YouTuber's name. I'll put him up on screen. I'm sorry, I didn't think about it. When I'm recording this, I'm trying to rush it so that way I can get it out, but still get enough quality into it so where it's still hopefully fine enough video, even though it's probably not. Anyway, it's just insane because nobody's ever, I don't think, engine swapped a Corvette. Maybe an LS swap, but even then, it's like, especially with an 8.1, which is a probably more forgettable engine to swap with. It's just crazy. It's like it's just an insane engine swap, and I do definitely think it was the one that stood out to me this year the most. I guess a runner-up, now that I think about it, what could have been Michael B. Jordan's Ferrari that Stradman brought. That's pretty interesting, but I think the C8 Corvette one's just more insane. Now, as you know, there are videos on the internet, car videos and car YouTubers. But what are some underrated ones? Well, an underrated one in both, in my opinion, is this YouTuber called Cars with Colin, and his most underrated video, I think, is the McLaren 765 LT review. It's just, he puts a lot of good quality in, and he just started this year, and he's been doing pretty good with his videos. Each one getting better than the previous one. And I mean, he does such a good job. His videos are maybe a bit short for you guys, I'm sure, but other than that, it's like he just makes good videos. You might have actually heard about him with the Castle Duesenberg review, which is kind of also another reason why I put it on my top 10 cars I've seen this year. But you may or may not have seen this video, but it's the Castle Duesenberg one. This is the most famous video, and it is probably one of his best ones, but the 765 LT one is definitely a really good one, and I would definitely recommend checking out his channel as well as that video. Now it's time for some car enthusiasts you have to eat here. And one of the locations is Manny's Steakhouse. If you love steakhouses and you live in Florida or in Florida right now, you should definitely check out Manny's Steakhouse. It's a bit more of a vintage one rather than exotic, but it's still a really cool place, and they make really good steak. I've had it. It's delicious. But then, probably my favorite spot that I eaten at recently, and then it was in a trip at Utah, and this is where I saw the Saleen S7 and sat under it. But it's Garage Grill. It's just a really cool place. I'll put up the location up screen. It's just a really cool place and the perfect spot for car enthusiasts. And the food there is really, really good. Like, I absolutely love their chicken and their fries. It's like, it was amazing. And I mean, it's like, it had so much, like, actual F1 cars that F1 drivers drove, as well as an Indy car and a race car from Le Mans, I think. And it's like, they actually have like a spot where you can see F1 driver helmets. It's just insane, and it was just a really cool restaurant to eat at, and I would definitely recommend going to it, especially if you're a car enthusiast. And if you aren't, then I definitely would recommend going there because the food is really good. Alright, time for car video of the year. And for our third place runner-up, I'd say is the 765 LT with Cars with Colin. I know he already appeared on the underrated category, but it was seriously a good video. Like, the way it was put together, and it's one of his longer videos, that's what makes it good too. But it's like, it wasn't the most popular, but you should definitely check it out. The Castle Duesenberg is the runner-up, and I definitely liked the video the best, just because it was just the best quality, it was different, a car that's really never been reviewed before, and overall, it was just a great video. But my number one pick is by far the Throttle House video where they drive the best cars they've ever driven, like the Alfa Romeo and the Porsche 911 Tut Hill Edition. That video just had a really good quality. It was really well edited, and they were really cool cars that they were reviewed. And I'm just so impressed by that Porsche 911 with the fact that it can rev to 11,000 RPM. That's like F1 right there. Like, dude. And the fact that it's supposedly, according to James, is the fact that it's just a 918 Spider just hidden in a 1970s body is just even more insane. And I kind of debate whether or not I prefer that Porsche over a Singer Porsche or not. But it was such a good quality video, man, and I definitely liked it the best, and they did a really good job on that. And I'm glad Thomas and James got to drive their dream cars, or at least Thomas did. That was good on his part. There's an apology slash announcement I'd like to make, and that's I'm sorry for not posting a lot of videos this year, and that most of them would be the ones I filmed this year are going to be out like in 2025. I apologize for that. And I mean, I I feel bad, but I get so busy with everything that I just tend to forget about my car channel, and obviously since I live in a winter state, I can't really do a lot with cars until car season starts back up, unless I take a trip to Florida, Kissimmee, Florida. And I mean, yeah. Announcements that I'd like to make are that next year I'm going to start making more videos that are right for every car fan, like maybe a little bit of gaming, rankings, car reviews possibly, and more vlogs hopefully. I again apologize for my lack of vlogs, and I just hope that you can enjoy next year's, and I hope my videos that were filmed from this year that come out next year are going to be good. Oh, and another thing I'd like to address actually is the fact that you guys should check out my community stuff more often, like posts, votes, and everything like that. Like, I appreciate you guys voting a lot on my Le Mans one, but like, I'm gonna do some things I did this year are gonna get refreshed for next year, like Mustang versus Camaro, or which motorsport is the best. But other than that, it's like I just kind of wish you checked them out more, or voted at least more. But other than that, I have nothing else to say. I just hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like and subscribe. I hope my opinions aren't too controversial, and I hope they're valid enough. I'm sorry that I can't drive a car, but I don't get access to it. But other than that, I just hope you guys enjoyed this video, and be sure to like and subscribe to both of my channels. That will link in the description. I know I keep laughing a lot because I'm trying to be funny. But other than that, just please like and subscribe to this video as well as my other channel. I'd appreciate it a lot. And with that said, see it. Or I guess with that said, I'll see you guys next year. Peace.